Welcome to Q&A practice. We'll start out with the plaintiff attorney. Ready? Here we go. Good morning, Mr. Silva. How old are you? 21 years of age. Where were you born? Boston, Massachusetts. Where did you grow up? Boston, Massachusetts for about 19 years. Then I moved to Cambridge. Do you have family here? Yes. Who did you grow up with? My mother, my sister, my twin brother, and my older brother. You say you have a twin brother? Yes. What's his name? Steven Silva. And is he an identical twin? Yes. Where do you currently reside? I'm currently incarcerated. For what? Gun possession and heroin charges, conspiracy distribution. How long have you been incarcerated? About 8 months. And what is the status of your criminal case pending? Have you pleaded guilty? Yes, I have. Have you come to a plea agreement with the government? Yes, I have. And you've come before a judge in this court and you've pled guilty? Yes, I have. I'll call up Exhibit 926 for the witness, please. Do you recognize this? Yes, I do. What is it? It's the plea agreement. And could we go to the last page? Mr. Broomer, is this page 15 of that agreement? Yes, it is. Do you see your signature on that? Yes, I do. I move into evidence Exhibit 926. No objection. All right. Mr. Silva, can you explain in a sentence what you understand your obligation under this plea agreement to be? It is my understanding that if I cooperate and give truthful testimony, I stand a better chance at sentencing. Who makes the decision on whether you get a better sentence? The judge and only the judge. Now, after you were arrested for your criminal case, did you agree to talk to the government? Yes, I did. Have you met with the prosecutors several times? Yes, I have. Have you talked about your testimony in this case? Yes, I have. Objection to leading at this point, Your Honor. Go ahead. Do you know Jahar Sarnev? Yes, I do. Do you see him in the courtroom today? Yes, I do. How do you know him? I was close friends with him. I recognize him. Can you please point to him and identify him by something he's wearing? He's wearing a black sports jacket. I'd ask the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant. All right. You said you were friends with him. Where did you first meet him? 8th grade. Where was that? The Community Charter School of Cambridge. And how often did you see him while you were in 8th grade? Every day. And did that continue through high school? Yes. Did you graduate together? Yes. When was that? June 2011. All right. Can I call up Exhibit 1179? What's that? That's a picture of me and Jahar before graduation. That's how you appeared back in June of 2011? Yes. Move into evidence 1179. No objection. All right. Asked to publish, Your Honor. When you were in high school, I'm sorry, I'll give it a second. When you were in high school, how often would you interact with the defendant? Every day usually. And describe your relationship. We had a very close relationship. He was the person who I would consider, one of my best friends back in the day. Did you know him by any other name? I called him Jiz. How often would you see him after graduating? Pretty often. Did you graduate together in June 2011? Yes, we did. What did you do after high school? After high school, I went to college down in Tampa, Florida. And do you know where the defendant went to school? Yes. Where did he go? UMass Dartmouth. Did you stay in touch with him? Yes, I did. How often? Pretty often. How would you keep in touch with him? Text messages, phone calls, Facebook. What kinds of things would you talk about with the defendant? How college, first semester, girls partying, getting accustomed to being in college. Where did your brother go to college? His first semester, freshman year, he also attended UMass Dartmouth. Was your brother close with the defendant as well? Yes. After you graduated high school, as you were going to college, what did you do for money? I was lifeguarding. I was also selling weed, marijuana. When you say lifeguarding, was that at a pool? Yes. Where was that? At one of the Harvard pools in Allston, Massachusetts. And did the defendant at one point also do that? Yes, he did. You said you were selling weed? Yes. You mean marijuana? Yes. When did you first start selling marijuana? About 16, 17 in high school. How much marijuana were you selling after you graduated high school? After I graduated high school, selling about quarter pounds, half pounds per week. Less than that, maybe every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending. About how much money were you making from selling marijuana after high school? It depends, anywhere between $500, $1,000, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. When you went down to Florida, where would you get your marijuana? I was getting it from local suppliers in the Tampa area at some point. Did you come back to Massachusetts? Yes, I did. When was that? During the spring 2012, after my freshman year was over. So in the spring of 2012, when you came back, did you see the defendant then? Yes, I did. And what would you do? Same things we always did, hung out. Describe for the jury what would happen when you guys would just hang out. He'd usually pick me up in his car. We'd hang out, smoke weed, listen to music, talk, go to the pool maybe, hang out. Sometimes he would take me to this reservoir spot near Swampscott, jump off a cliff, hang out, drink, normal teenager stuff. Did you continue to sell drugs when you came back to back to Massachusetts? Yes. Why did you go down to Florida and leave Massachusetts to go to college? I wanted to get out of Massachusetts for a little bit. I feel like I had spent my whole life in Massachusetts and I wanted to, experience something a little different, something I wasn't used to. After your freshman year of college, did you decide to stay in Massachusetts? After my freshman year, I decided to stay in Massachusetts for a little bit. Yes, I did. And did you continue to sell drugs up here? Yes. Now, near the end of 2012, did you go back to Florida? Yes, I did. Were you enrolled as a student? No, not at that time. Why did you go back? Some things had come up around Boston. I just felt it necessary to get out of Boston for a little, so I thought I'd just take a little vacation and go back down to Florida. What came up in Boston? Supposedly, my mother told me the police came to my house looking for me, asking questions about something drug related. So I just decided it was best for me to leave the area for a little bit. And what did you do when you got down to Florida? When I got down to Florida, I just hung out at a friend's house and continued selling weed. How long did you do that for? From about the middle of August until the end of November 2012, yes. And then did you come back to Massachusetts? Yes, I did. Where did you go? At that time, I came back from Florida. My brother and friend had an apartment in Revere, Massachusetts. And who is your friend? My friend Nicholas Silva. So your brother Stephen Silva and your friend Nicholas Silva, yes, were in an apartment together, yes. Did you have a business relationship with them as well? Yes. What was that business relationship? Just primarily selling marijuana. Where were you getting your supply of marijuana from? A local supplier. Did you repackage the marijuana? Yes. About how much money were you making per week when you came back? By the time I came back, I was selling more quantity, so between 1,000 and 2,000, give or take, less maybe. Did the defendant come to your apartment? Yes. How often? At least a few times a month. How often would you communicate with the defendant around this time? Pretty often. What does pretty often mean? At least a couple of times a week. Can I ask you whether any of your business partners had ever been robbed? Yes. Who? My twin brother. Approximately. When was that? About October 2012. October. Was he robbed of money? No. What was he robbed of? Marijuana product. About how much? About 2 pounds. How much was that worth? If you broke it up, anywhere between $6,000-$10,000. Was being robbed a concern of yours? Yes. And did the three of you who lived together have that concern? Yes. Did you ever have discussions about obtaining a gun? Yes. With who? My brother and my cousin, my friend Nick. And what was that conversation? After my brother was robbed, we just started talking about maybe obtaining a gun, for protection. And near the end of 2012, did an opportunity arise to obtain? Yes. Explain that opportunity. Well, like I said, me and my brother and my friend had been talking about obtaining a gun, and around the same time, a friend of mine from my neighborhood, he had asked me if I could do him a favor and hold down a firearm for him because he needed to get it out of his house. What was his name? Howie. And did you agree to take the gun? Yes. Did he get you the gun? Excuse me, repeat that. Did he get you the gun? Yes. What kind of gun was it? It was a P95 Ruger. After you got the gun, what did you do with it? I stored it away in my apartment in a ceiling panel. The court reporter is taking down everything you're saying, so if you speak slowly, she'll get it. Okay, the ceiling panel in your apartment in Revere, is that where you put the gun? Yes. What else Who else knew about the gun? My twin, my friend, and a few close associates. And did you tell people? Yes. Some of those close associates? Yes. Did you tell the defendant? Yes. What was his reaction when you told him that you had a gun? It wasn't much of a reaction. He just acknowledged it. When some of your close associates came to the house, did you show them the gun? Yes. Did you ever take the gun out of the apartment? Yes. What's the first time you remember taking the gun out of the apartment? I took the gun out of the apartment sometime in December to commit a robbery. And who was with you? My friend Nicholas. All right, that will conclude our Q&A practice.